Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good. Excited to talk some Devy news as far as some draft, give some people insight on what they should be looking for in their drafts this upcoming year.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this show for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, man.
Well, let's go and jump into it. Before we get started, as always, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. If you'd like to know when we go live, just make sure you also hit that notification bell. You'll know whenever we have any show go live. Let's jump right into some Devy news. Starting with Nicholas Arbor out of South Carolina. There was a lot of positional ambiguity whenever it came to Harbor. People didn't know if he was going to play defensive end, move to tight end, or if he was going to stick at wide receiver. Head coach Shane Beamer says he will actually start off at wide receiver, and then they will take it from there. From my understanding, Harbor doesn't want to gain a whole lot of weight because he also wants to continue to run track. So sticking at wide receiver makes a lot of sense for him, and he's a monster of a human being as well. Absolutely huge. Moving on to some transfer news here. Wide receiver Jordan Hudson is transferring from TCU to SMU. That is actually a pretty big deal. Hudson was actually probably going to be in line to have a pretty big role at TCU before he decided to move on. Now moving on to SMU, he's going to be catching passes from a stud quarterback, Preston Stone. So SMU is getting a big time transfer there. Also, wide receiver Keon Coleman transferring from Michigan State to Florida State. That is going to pair very nicely with Johnny Wilson for Jordan Travis. Also, looks like Ole Miss appears to be the favorite to land wide receiver Zachary Franklin out of UTSA. He put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons there in San Antonio, and decided to hit the portal just about a month or so ago. I look at that as probably being a pretty big deal. He may actually end up being the top wide receiver transfer in the off season, all off season. Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter has been suspended amid a sex video investigation. There's been some video surface of him and another guy with his ex-girlfriend, and the University of Auburn is looking into that. So Hunter has been suspended pending an investigation. Just kind of a weird situation there. And also, last but not least here, the top 2024 tight end recruit Jaden Riddell committed to Georgia. Very, very soon after Dylan Raiola committed there. Gotta think that was a big factor in Riddell's commitment over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, Tommy, can we talk about these guys real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you got to say it.
I want to jump in on Franklin real quick. Just sure. As a CFF guy, he was a beast the last couple of years. I had him paired up with Harris for UTSA, and they led me to a championship in CFF C2C league last year. So when they both decided to come back, I was absolutely fired up because I was like, oh, this is my chance to go back to back. These guys led my team last year. And then all of a sudden, Franklin decides to transfer, which is a little bit of a surprise. I mean, he got a ton of work, ton of catches. I'm not sure if he thinks the transfer is going to help his draft stock possibly, and that would happen. But I mean, Ole Miss is a high-powered offense. They weren't great last year. You're hoping they kind of turn the corner this year with all the talent they have. But it'd be interesting to see how he fits in there compared to him being the guy at UTSA. I know they were loaded with 3 stud wide receivers and a good running back, but they just threw the ball all over the place. Ole Miss likes to pound the ball a little bit more. Be interesting to see how he kind of fits in. It does this. Do you guys think this actually, if he goes there and balls out the same or close to what he did at UTSA, do you think this really ups his Devy stock and his draft stock for the NFL?
I think probably just because he's taken that big step up in competition, going from G5 to the SEC, SEC West in particular, which is loaded. I'll have to actually go back and kind of pay a little bit more attention to him, see what his speed and route running looks like, see what type of strength he has at the point of the catch and blocking and all that stuff, to see if his game translates a little bit more to the NFL.
Yeah, he's a guy I like a ton. I was just going to say, he's a guy I liked a ton. I thought he would be a possible third rounder if he came into this year's draft. And it'll be interesting to see how he kind of fits with next year's draft. Obviously, him being a year older, and obviously he's going to see how he hits at Ole Miss. But he's a guy I thought had top 3 round potential, possibly, depending on how his combine worked out, how his 40, all that. But I think he's a guy who has a lot of talent. I really do. I know some of these guys at smaller schools just put up great numbers, and so you're not sure how that translates to the next level. But I'm super interested to see how this works out for him. SC, tell me what you got on this guy.
No, I mean, if he goes out in balls, of course, it's going to raise his draft stock. Going to the SEC is just a dominant defensive conference. So if a wide receiver goes out there year one and just has a phenomenal season, I don't see why he wouldn't raise his draft stock. The thing I would be looking at is, if he goes out there and balls, is it balling because of talent, or is it finally Jackson Dart has a new target where he actually does some great things and he raises his draft stock itself? Frankly, I don't doubt that he will, so I'm really going to be curious on, is it going to be Jackson Dart that elevates his draft stock based on what he gets in a new stud receiver there?
Or is it even going to be Jackson Dart throwing in the ball?
Yeah, we might have.
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, just seeing what Jonathan Mingo, where he got drafted this year after not actually putting up even great numbers at Ole Miss, but just having, that elite player profile.
Right.
If Franklin's not quite Mingo as far as player profile and combine, but puts up double the numbers, does that equal second rounder? Does that equal early third? That's what's going to be interesting to see.
Well, wide receivers are definitely hard too in the NFL drafts, because it's like they take guys. I mean, we saw Tyquan Thornton go, second round a couple years ago for the Patriots. So they're always a curious thing, and really, it's just if you impress during that combine to those coaches, they're like, man, we gotta take you. So that will be a huge part in his whole draft stock itself. But the numbers will definitely help if he goes out there and shows he's a one for an SEC team.
That's true, but I'm actually a little bit more interested in the other 2 transfers we saw over the past week or two with Jordan Hudson and Keon Coleman. I think those 2 have a better pedigree than what Franklin does. They may not have done productively what Franklin has done over the past couple of years, but I think their pedigree and their athleticism probably translates a little bit better.
Yeah, Coleman going to FSU, I thought that was gigantic. When I heard the news that he was leaving Michigan State to go to FSU with Jordan Travis, this is a great – I mean, this is all in for him. This is a great opportunity. If he balls out at FSU with Jordan Travis, you got to think he skyrockets up draft boards. But if he doesn't come in and play well with a good QB like Jordan Travis on a team that's, kind of – moving up, FSU is a team a lot of people are talking about. Man, you're Coleman, you're all in. I mean, at least if he didn't have the numbers at Michigan State, he can complain about the offense and the QB and all that. But if he doesn't put up big numbers at FSU, that worries me for his Devy stock. But right now, I'm probably in on him on Devy. Like this just seems like a great situation for him, where they don't have any absolute elite the man wide receivers right now going to camp. They have a lot of guys that could be that guy, but there's not a returner that's that guy yet. And if Coleman can be Jordan Travis's guy, man, I think he just goes up draft boards big time.
But let's not forget about Johnny Wilson. He's still there. Also, they brought in Jaheim Bell out of South Carolina, so that offense is going to be pretty nasty.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they have a ton of talent. It's just the fact of they didn't have a clear-cut number one, this is the guy. So I think Coleman's going to get a chance to get in the mix with all those other guys. And, I mean, Florida State is coming with just mad talent all over, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I mean, this team in the ACC is going to be dangerous this year.
Oh, absolutely.
With Jaquez Hunter, I mean, he was going into the season, I think, as looking as the RB1, and with this allegation happening and everything, it's who is it? Is it the guy that was there last year, Damari Alston, who's gonna possibly take the rounds? Is it the freshman coming in, Jeremiah Cobb, or is it the transfer that you brought up earlier, Tommy, and Brian Batty, from South Florida? So it's gonna be a very interesting running back room, and that's someone. If Hunter can't go, I'm definitely targeting one of those running backs in the later rounds, because whoever does get the reins can have a successful season. Auburn does like to produce some running backs, and they do pretty well in your college leagues too. So, I mean, definitely target one of those if we find out Jaquez Hunter isn't going to be there.
Well, I would say outside of Hunter, in terms of Devy, Cobb is the guy to go after. The incoming freshman 4-star running back. He's the guy who will be the guy at some point, whether it's this year or next year. But he's got plenty of talent to do it himself.
Good, do it all kind of back. He has some speed with him too.
Yep, yep. That's right. All right, guys. Well, how about we go ahead and jump into this 3-round mock? We actually did this mock over the last couple weeks, and it's just the three of us. So we each had a pick within every 3 picks. So I'll let JT go and start us off, because he had pick 101 in this draft.
Yeah. So for me, I'm assuming this is a super flex league.
Yes.
If this is a 1 QB league, Marvin Harrison, wide receiver, Ohio State, he's
right.
my guy. He's my guy. I love Marvin Harrison. I'm all over Twitter talking about Marvin Harrison. I've loved Marvin Harrison all the way back to freshman year. I was all over him. Early Devy, I just thought, man, the guy's got a profile. I have to be honest. His dad's my favorite player of all time. So I was excited about him. I jumped on Devy shares of him early, but the guy you got to take right now, just straight value, is Caleb Williams. The 101, he's got to be 101 everywhere right now. USC quarterback, coming off a Heisman. He's got talent upon talent upon talent around him. And we did on the Dynasty Pros, we did a startup rookie plus Devy IDP draft not too long ago. And Tommy, I think it was you.
It was me, yeah.
Let me know. I think it was you that you jumped on Caleb Williams at the beginning of the second round.
Yep.
I was looking at Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. I was at the end of the second, and I was like, I'm going to take one of those guys that gets me. I thought I might be too early on him, and I didn't even get close to me. I didn't even get a chance to take him.
Nope. Not either one.
Went early, and like right now, Caleb Williams, the value is through the roof. You have to take him at 101.
Yep, I agree with that. SCU had pick number 2. Where'd you go with it?
I mean, it's funny because he said, single QB leagues, you get Marvin Harrison, and really that's he's someone that can be talked about here if Caleb goes number 101. But I think in a super flex league, you're taking Drake May from UNC. The upside is just there from him. If he goes out there and balls, he has the build to be a starting QB. He can make all the good throws. He has some upside in running possibly. The thing is, he lost Josh Downs, right? So it's going to be who's going to step up and be that wide receiver for him. But in super flex leagues, you're going Caleb and Drake May 10 out of 10 times most likely.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with that. I ended up with back-to-back picks here because we kind of went in reverse order after the first 3. So my number with the 1-3, I took Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that's kind of a no-brainer there. Those first 3 picks, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that's pretty much consensus. Can't go wrong with any one of those 3. They could actually kind of be, in any order you wanted to put them in. Even in a super flex, Marvin Harrison Jr. could still possibly go 1-1. And of course, in a Devy draft, it's just a startup. But if you're in a rookie draft with just a plain Dynasty league, it depends on what your need is, right? You're either, if you need a quarterback, you're going to go Caleb Williams. If you need a wide receiver, you're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1-1. It's kind of a lot like this year where Bijan Robinson was the clear-cut 1-1, but then after that, there was a little bit of flexibility there, whether you took, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, or you went Jahmyr Gibbs or JSN or whatever, and then with 1-4, I went with Raheem Sanders, running back out of Arkansas. I have steadily moved him up my Devy boards. He just looks like the absolute complete back, and the best back available right now. In this running back class for the 2024 draft is unbelievably loaded. You got 5, 6, 7 guys who are going to be drafted probably in the first 2 rounds, which is just unreal. A lot of good young backs coming into the league over the next couple of years. And this class is 100% loaded. SC, you had 1-5. Where'd you go with it?
Yeah, there was 4. I mean, I'm happy. 2 years ago, I started buying into Raheem Sanders before he kind of made that name. So I'm kind of like bathing in some glory now that he had that success, and everyone's being like, "Oh, he's the top running back right now." So I'm excited that you brought that up and everything. But with the 1-5. I went with the guy at one of his position as well as that tight end, Brock Bowers from Georgia. And I really think the 1 through 5 where we went is really what the rookie drafts will be like as well. Bowers is just one of those talents that, we're seeing that he's just a big do-it-all kind of tight end, similar to like Kyle Pitts, just has that value that Kyle Pitts is gaining based on his talent. And I think Bowers is just going to ball. He's going to go straight into the NFL, be a day 1 starter, and he's going to help out any quarterback that he's there. And we're going to see some heavy success from him. Even though the Georgia tight end room is very loaded as well, you're still going to see Bowers be on top, and he's going to be a top draft pick.
Oh, Bowers has been the man since his freshman year. I mean, he does everything. He takes jet sweeps and just runs away from everybody. His athleticism is almost unmatched at the tight end spot. As soon the day 1, he is a top 5 dynasty tight end. JT, you had the 1-6. Matter of fact, you have back-to-back picks here.
Yeah, I was going to just real quick before I mention my picks, like SEC, Brock Bowers. I've heard a couple of people go, "Oh, is he a little undersized? Is he put on weight?" I don't think so at all. I think he's going to, if he finds the right system in the NFL, man, I just feel like he is the next great receiving tight end. I don't care if he blocks a shred. I don't care. I think he is just a mismatch hell for teams. He's just a player. I mean, the things we've seen him do in college is stuff we think about guys in the NFL. We never think of college tight ends doing what he's been doing. I'm all over it. If you're in a premium league or you're in a start 2 tight end, I mean, I could see him going top 3. I really could next year. I love him. And like you guys said, Rocket Sanders, like I was in on Marvin Harrison early. I wish I was in on Rocket Sanders as early. I liked him. I wasn't as high on him, and I missed out on all kinds of opportunities to get him. And I love him. He's my number 1 back too. I love him. I just missed out on a lot of spaces. So if I don't get Rocket Sanders, the guy I'm going to is Travion Henderson. Now I know his stock is a little low right now, just because of the injury last year. But, man, people are all over him after that freshman year at Ohio State. A little banged up last year. Mayan Williams had a good year without him, but I think he bounces back. I don't think he's a product of the system. I actually think he is a really good talent, low to the ground, can bounce off guys, got good speed. I think he has a bounce back this year. And that's why I took him at 1-6. And then I'm going to bounce back right again, stay on Ohio State Buckeyes, and I'm going to take second wide receiver in there, Amuka Obeke. It's crazy you ever think about the top 2 guys being on the same team, but Obeke had just an unbelievable year along with Marvin Harrison. After all those guys left, they were both phenomenal. If you can't get Marvin Harrison, Obeke is my next guy. I like both those guys. I feel like they're both going to be possible first-round picks, early second-round picks in the NFL draft next year.
Yeah, you took Travion Henderson there, and the good thing about that is with it, he may not be a big time CFF asset, but he is a huge Devy prospect. Main reason he's not going to be a huge CFF guy is just because they're gonna run 3-4 running backs there. It's gonna be Henderson, Mayan Williams, Dallin Hayden, and possibly Evan Pryor even also. All four of them should be considered very Devy viable as well.
Yeah, for me, if you're counting just Devy, not CFF, not C2C, he goes way higher in Devy for me. He maybe slips a little bit if you're looking CFF or you're doing a C2C combined league slightly, but I think he's going to put up good numbers, probably not great numbers, good numbers, but I think his Devy level for the NFL, I think, is going to be really high. It's going to be, unless something just disastrous happens this year, it's hard for me to see him falling out of that top 3-4 running backs in the NFL draft.
Sure.
Agreed.
All right, SC, you then had the next pick at the 1-8. Where did you go with that?
That's funny because we're changing QBs in Ohio State, but yet we still have 3 Ohio State people going top 7 there. But that just goes to show what the talent is. Just jam-packed. They continue to bring in class. After class, they're bringing in talent, and it shows right here. So I love those picks in the top 7. Number 108. I'm going with a running back that's not coming out this year, but I really like him, and he's definitely an asset. That's Nicholas Singleton from Penn State. Just a bruiser of a running back, man. I loved him out of high school, and he went in as day one as a freshman and just dominated at Penn State, and he's going to continue to do it. He has a great backup there as well in Katron Allen, but I think Nicholas Singleton, if you can get him now, you want to get him before the boom. The boom's already happening, but make sure you go ahead and go get him now when you can probably still afford him. Just because it's like, okay, maybe it's a beginner's luck kind of deal if you find that kind of owner. But you definitely want to go grab it because he's gonna be almost like a Nick Chubb, just a solid 3-down back that can just go pure runner kind of style. But you're starting to see these pure runners also becoming pass catchers because they see that's relevant in the NFL, and so he can kind of do it all itself. And I just like his young talent for Devy leagues or C2C leagues. If you're doing startup C2C leagues, I'm not afraid if he's my RB1 on my team.
Definitely not. I personally love Singleton. He is my RB1 on my Devy rankings. I know I took Rocket earlier, but that's mainly just because he's coming out this year and Singleton's still another year away. If him and Singleton were the same class, Singleton would have been my top running back taken. One thing I do want to see from Singleton a little bit more is an ability to run in between the tackles. He's more of a get to the outside and go type of guy. If he can find a little bit more success in between the tackles, I think he is the complete back, the prototypical NFL back.
Yeah, and I was right. I was debating hard between Henderson and Singleton, so I think those guys are right together. I agree with you. I was debating. I was back and forth, and I took Henderson, but I definitely could swap and take Singleton as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have 2 back-to-back picks here. With 1-9, I went with Drew Allar, the quarterback for Penn State. He may end up being the 1-1 in the 2025 NFL draft. He has that type of talent, five-star quarterback out of high school. Just the size and the ability to move and run and drop passes anywhere he wants to drop them. He looks like Josh Allen out there. Pretty similar type of game. He may not have as big of an arm as Allen, but he can play quite a bit like him. And then at 110, I'm taking the first freshman off the board. I'm going Malachi Nelson, quarterback, USC. It's just something about those Lincoln Riley quarterbacks. They just tend to climb draft boards and become big-time NFL players.
Yeah, I like that. With Nelson specifically, I mean, you take Caleb at the 101, right? Because he's probably the 101 in the NFL draft next year. And then, someone that's just going to go in there and not miss a beat as far as their quarterback play is Malachi Nelson. I really like him as a prospect. Don't expect to see a lot of him this year just because it's Caleb's team. But, I think, again, he's going to go in there and just, all right, it's my team now, So it's going to pay for him to wait, and it's going to pay for you to get him now and wait a year because one of those things, you'll be bathed in glory kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, I gotta agree with you. Like if I'm playing in a C2C or a CFF combined league sometime, I'm jumping on Nelson this year because you got to assume Caleb Williams gone after this year, the 1-1, and then you're going to get a couple years of Malachi Nelson value. I mean, if I'm in a CFF league, especially if I'm supplemental, so my league's already out, all these guys are off the board, I'm starting a league this year, man, it's going to be tough not to take him 1-1. In a supplemental draft because you're the value's there. It's too high. You're gonna get tons of years out. I mean, you're getting 2-3 years out of him automatic, and then he should be a high NFL draft pick. Now, again, he's a freshman. It's always a chance, but man, I love his upside. And then Drew Allar, I love him. I like literally outside of May and outside of, like you said, outside of Caleb Williams, he's my favorite guy. I love him in the 25 class. I'm taking him everywhere I can. We talked about our startup league we had for Dynasty Pros, and I jumped on Allar pretty early in that league because I wanted to make sure I had him locked up.
Oh yeah, you mentioned Malachi Nelson kind of being in a position to where he's not going to be the guy this year. You have to wait on him. That was kind of what Drew Allar's position was last year. You kind of had to jump on him early, and then just wait for him. But he's definitely going to be worth it.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't get Nelson this year, you're done.
Yeah,
I don't think you can wait. I think if you wait and he wins the starting job at USC next year and goes in after they have a monster year this year, you're going to be too late. You're not going to be able to get him, or you're going to have to spend a ton to get him in a trade. Yeah, well, you got to be a year early instead of a year late.
Well, and the good thing with him is that he is going to spend a year just getting acclimated because he probably won't even be the backup quarterback this year. It'll probably be Miller Moss. So Malachi Nelson is going to be able to acclimate to college. And even then you may have like towards the end of the season or the off season next year, you may have guys who have gotten tired of waiting on him, and you may be able to jump on him and get him at a little bit of a deal.
That's true. No, just a pure talent. I mean, you're gonna have to do what you can, and yeah, I mean, if you find those guys in your leagues, go grab him because if they're like, oh, he was a third string quarterback, they didn't believe in him. All right, well, I'll take him off your hands then.
Yeah. Kind of like how people have lost the faith in Jaden Blue, just because he didn't do anything last year. Obviously, Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson were in front of him. And then in the bowl game, he didn't do anything, but that doesn't mean he's not a good running back. This year he'll probably have more of a chance. Him and Cedric Baxter will end up being the guys there. Maybe Jonathan Brooks. We'll end up seeing on that, but don't lose faith in these high end 5-star guys just because they didn't do anything as a freshman. Not a whole lot of guys actually do that.
Right.
Let's see. SC, you're up with the 111. What do you got here?
Oh, just when you said not a whole lot of guys do that. That's what makes Singleton so special because he came in freshman. With the 111, man. Honestly, this might be high on this guy that I'm taking, the quarterback from Colorado, Shadue Sanders. I'm all over him. This is one of the ones where I want to buy him before it explodes. We saw what he did at Jackson State, and now he's going to Colorado, Power 5 conference now. We're going to see it. This is really not necessarily a make or break, but it's something where if you have him and it pays off, you're going to be loving it. Because he's going to show, hey, I can go against any kind of defense or, any kind of competition and still succeed. And Colorado's bringing in tons of talent to build around him, So I really like his upside on what can possibly be happening. And honestly, to me, if he comes out in balls, he's going to be QB3 of the 2024 class, behind your Caleb Williams and Drake May. And again, there's a chance where he might not even make the top 10 because it's like, oh, wow, this is a whole different conference. He's not ready for it, right? So it's definitely a high risk, high reward kind of deal. But at that point, at 111, especially in Superflex type leagues, I want to grab a quarterback that has that kind of upside. And for me, I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado.
Yeah, that's actually a good ceiling pick right there. Sanders, Baby Prime has all the natural talent in the world. And QB3 is really up for grabs in this next year's draft. Nobody really knows who that third quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Shedeur Sanders? Is it going to be Quinn Ewers? Is it going to be Riley Leonard or Joe Milton or whoever? That's still TBD. So Sanders is not a bad pick right there.
Yeah, I was actually just having this conversation about Sanders with some people the other day going, how high do you take him either in a startup or a Devy, just Devy, or in a C2C league, especially if it's supplemental? And I think all those values are slightly different. I think in a straight Devy, you take him a little later. I don't know if I take him as high in a straight Devy, but I absolutely love him in a C2C just because what SC said. If he blows up this year, you could have QB3 on your hands. If he doesn't hit huge, I still think he can have a really good offensive season. I still think he can put up numbers. So say he takes a year to really get into the groove. You get a year of CFF production with the chance that maybe he even jumps higher the year after, and he's 1, 2, or 3 the year after. So in a C2C league, I absolutely am jumping on him maybe an earlier than you probably should because of what, as he said, the ceiling is just so high, and you're going to have a little bit of extra wiggle room with him in case he comes back for a year. So I'm telling you, I'm in a C2C league that's going to draft here pretty soon, and I'm already eyeing him at this exact spot that SC just took him is where my pick is, and Sanders is where I'm looking at. He's the guy I'm kind of eyeing, even though there's going to be some of those stud freshmen out there. I'm thinking I might skip those guys and go Sanders with that pick in the first round, which might seem a little high, but I just love the opportunity he can put up points for you on the college side, and that he could be that top 3 QB either next year or the year after.
Yep.
That's what I love about Sanders.
Yeah, that was a very solid pick right there. JT, you're up to finish off the first round here. What do you got, bud?
Quinshon Judkins. I absolutely love this guy. I'm mad at myself for not taking him in more leagues last year. He kind of hit right off the bat. I just, if I'm in a league where he hasn't gone or I'm in a new startup, I'm all over Judkins. I just think he has got all kinds of ability and skill. I just love his tenacity. The thing was, he wasn't a high 5-star or even a high 4-star. This guy was a 3-star and came in and absolutely balled out in the SEC. I love that. That's a guy that wants to grind. That's a guy that's got a chip on his shoulder. I just love everything about him. He is right up there with me with the top 3 running backs that we've already selected. When I got him at this spot, I was pumped to get him at this spot. I love him, and he might have one of the coolest jerseys in the league. That light blue number 4 Ole Miss jersey. I might have to get online and order one. They're just so cool. I want one so bad.
Yeah, those powder blue jerseys are pretty sick. And Judkins, like you said, he really came out of nowhere. That job was supposed to be Zach Evans' job, and he just straight up took it from him.
And it's funny because he's a reason why I'm kind of fading Zach Evans, in Los Angeles right now with the Rams. Everyone was so high, like, oh, he's there. He has opportunity. We don't know what's happening with Cam. Will he succeed? And that's why, for me, I'm like targeting Tyon Evans. And he was an undrafted guy because I'm like, I've already seen Zach Evans lose the job, not once, but twice, because he lost it to Kendre Miller also. But then he goes and loses it to Judkins, the freshman. I love this kid. And yeah, he's going to have high value. And really, I mean, he wasn't even on my boards prior to, but then during the season, I'm like, wait, what's happening over there? This isn't Zach Evans running the Brock anymore. And he just came on my radar. And he's someone that, yeah, if you can target him, I think this is great. And you're not taking him over Singleton, but he could be, you know, that fourth running back, like you're saying, JT.
Yep. Jay.